I think a good example that I can give where I've had a failure was we were writing a computer program to simulate the trajectory of a basketball, and the basketball will hit the backboard and the hoop in all different kinds of complicated ways. And it all looked very, very realistic. We'd done lots of testing to make sure the code worked well. Well, we were running this one simulation where the basketball travels to the hoop and it starts to swirl around the hoop, but it would swirl below the level of the hoop, but then come back up, which seems impossible, which would be impossible. So we knew that there was a mistake in the code. It took us 3 months to find the error in the code, and it was one minus sign in one term that had to do with a centrifugal effect. That was probably the worst programming error that we've had. 3 months, 2 people, trying to find an error in a code that was about 20,000 lines long.
Oh, there have been countless times where I've been struggling with the program and it not working, but I never really classify it as failure. I normally just call it a setback because I always just kind of push through it and figure out what I need to do to overcome it. Whenever you run a program, it's never going to work the first time. It's happened to me literally once and I thought I was dreaming. Every other time there's some kind of error happening. So if I kind of viewed it as a failure when my code doesn't work, I'd be experiencing a failure every single time I ran a code almost. So instead, I like to kind of view it as a challenge. Like, oh, something isn't working. Okay, how do I get it to where it is working? What steps do I need to take? So I think that kind of mindset is really helpful.
People ask, is programming something that you have to have talent for? I don't really think so. Everybody can think, and if you think that you think slower, then just operate slower.
I think programming is something that anybody can learn. It involves a lot of logic and being able to know that if I do A, then I need to do B, then I need to do C. And I think just as humans, we have that inherent ability. And I think that's not something that's learned. I think that's something that we all have. And so I think anybody could be good at programming.
I think in some ways it can be discouraging when you see someone else who's already grasped it and you're like, oh, like I'm behind. But if you take the time to sit there and learn it, and as you're not getting frustrated with the time, but this is my dedicated lab time for the week, I'm going to focus on understanding MATLAB, then by the end you'll be caught up with them and you'll catch up and you'll be able to learn as well.
Probably the most important thing to do is to slow down, relax. In fact, even if you slow down and you relax, it's pretty easy to make a mistake, and then you have to sit there and scratch your head and wonder where the mistake is. You have to troubleshoot. Troubleshooting is where students fall down. They fall down because the code doesn't work, they don't know why. And if you've written a lot of lines of code before you decided to check that everything is okay, of course it's going to be difficult to troubleshoot. You don't know where the error could have been made.
So if you're really frustrated because the code's not working correctly, I'd take a step back, maybe give it a day or two, just in case you miss something like a bracket that's wrong.
Whenever I got stuck, I just always went and asked for help, and that's kind of been my way to deal with it. Go to a TA and just ask for help whenever I hit that roadblock. Most of the CSE classes that are offered at NC State have lots and lots of TAs, and they're students who have taken the class. They're usually undergraduates who can understand and kind of relate to the experience of being in college and having a hard class that you needed to dedicate this time to, and they're often passionate about helping you to understand the material. And so if you reach out, someone will reach back out and help you get back up on the train there.
I think sometimes when you take on a programming project, it's like this huge endeavor. And so you really need to break it up into pieces and find small victories along the way to keep you motivated to keep working on that project.
Most of the time, I know there's going to be a solution out there, and if not, I can go about and maybe develop something close to what I need using the resources I have.
Coming from a minimal MATLABing or programming background, coming into the class, I was definitely feeling intimidated by the coursework. People in the class, most students have never coded before, and a lot of them learn wow, I really enjoy it, this is something that I can do. Students will have fun little side projects that we get to see them do, and just things that people really come to enjoy.
I think my advice to the student who's taking a programming class would be to enjoy the process. I think you're going to enjoy the process if you give yourself enough time. So when you sit down to do some coding, make sure that you're not rushed, because you can't think well when you're rushed. But if you have enough time and you give yourself enough time, you'll really enjoy it.